Respected elders, brothers and sisters, and students. Sai Ram. About 8 years back, in a one-to-one conversation, Swami told me, "You're not telling others what we are doing here. What is the work that is being done in the Sai institutions? I know you think it is publicity. You're wrong. It's not publicity. Speaking the truth, stating the facts, stating what we are doing, the good that is being done here is not publicity because there is no motive behind it. Motive to attract funds or to attract people or nothing of that kind. So, correct your mistake." Another time, he said, "Why don't you speak?" At that time, immediately I told him that I have so many faults. With so many faults, how can I speak to others? Swami immediately said, "If you wait for correcting all your faults, that time may never come. Speak about your experiences, factually, without any exaggeration, truthfully, and speak about those good things which you are practicing in your daily life. Then only it will carry conviction. And do everything for Bhagavat Prityartham." Swami mentioned these words, so I am retaining the Sanskrit words. Bhagavat Prityartham 3 times. So it took a long time for me to realize the import. In fact, that has been my habit or whatever you call. It takes a long time for me to understand what Swami meant. So a month or 2 back, I started writing about my experiences and shared it with few of our friends in the hospital and some of my relatives and all. Now, suddenly I got an opportunity. Shri Vijay Sai telephoned to me and then said, "Will you like to speak?" And all these triggers from Swami started sparkling. So the victims are here for you to see. I was just wondering, who can speak about Sai? That is the question that again and again came to me. And finally, the answer also came that only Sai can speak about Sai. Now, under these circumstances, after Mahasamadhi, what does that mean? I was asking myself, and the probable answer is the Sai within will speak about the Sai without. The Sai within will speak. So I pray to the Sai within to speak about the Sai without. Now, if each one of us is asked, who is the person that you love most? Probably the answer would be my mother. Each one's mother. If we ask why, the answer would be mother gives unconditional love. And she accepts us with all our faults. Because, nobody is without faults. And now, in the present times, you don't have to say anything. So, mother is one who accepts us with all our faults without judging. And not that she doesn't want to correct. She will, but it's with love. Now, we have to draw a parallel with Swami. Swami has said that my love is more than the love of 1,000 mothers. And in the last 44, 45 years, I have really felt the truth of this in various circumstances and events and non-events and so many things. In Swami also, you have this unconditional love. He definitely accepted us as we were, because had it not been so, none of us could have been near him. Sorry for saying that, but I take the liberty to say no human being could have moved, or Swami couldn't have moved with us if he had not accepted us as we were. So, but the depth and intensity of the Sai love, and Swami himself said, is much greater than even mother's love. And I have felt that. There is one more conversation in which there was a talk about the degeneration of values in society, character and other things, one-to-one with Swami one day, some 15, 16 years back. And Swami, at that time, in speech, he used to say, Daiva Preeti, Papa Bhiti, Sanganiti. So, I also thought I was very wise and started with, Papa Bhiti is not there in society nowadays, and character is deteriorating, values are not there at all. Swami made a very beautiful observation. He said, unless there is Deva Preeti, Papa Bhiti won't come. Love is the basis of everything. And he also said, have you noticed, whenever I speak, whatever I say, in the end, I end with love. The topic is love. Unconditional love, selfless love. Have you noticed that? So Swami said, unless Deva Preeti is there, Papa Bhiti cannot come. That is, fear of sin cannot come unless love of God is there. So, let's not focus on our own faults and other this thing and all that. And this beautiful evening, let's dwell on events which triggered Deva Preeti in me. And I feel that this is a forum of Bhagavatas. Bhagavatas are those who love God. This is a forum, I feel, that each one of you is a Bhagavata who loves God. Otherwise, you won't be here. Even once, each sentence will be so boring that you'll all go off. So, sharing the experiences of each one of the Bhagavatas over a period of time. In Shirdi Sai, this thing and all, Satcharita is being read by millions and millions of people all over the world. The same book. In Satya Sai, there are millions of devotees who have been touched by the Sai love. And I'll try to narrate in the next 1 hour till you get bored some of the events that happened in my life, some of the experiences I have had, some of the exclusive moments I have had, but of course by no means exhaustive. Now, as I first thank Karthik for introducing me, and Brindavan is the first place in which I met or I had darshan of Swami. So I have to start with Brindavan. And the first event and first experience, which is still in my memory right now, is June 1967. Of course, there's no question of any hall. The entire place was full of trees. It used to be very, very cold. And there used to be one path from this gate to that gate, a curved path. Not this path. This looks like a L, inverted L or something. But there used to be a curved path from this gate to that gate. I'm not even sure whether it was concreted or not. I'm not very, it's hazy, 45 years. And what is that path? That path is the Sai path. So every day, of course, Trai Vrindavan was not there. April 26, 1984, we are talking about June 67. There was an old building which the trust purchased, and Swami used to stay there, and devotees used to gather in this path. To my memory, it was only from Swami's perspective, it was right side was ladies and left side was gents. And we used to be here, and lot of trees. Excluding that path, the whole thing was littered with trees. And we used to come from Bangalore, and India in the 60s is entirely different from the India that you see. For students, most of them are students. Absolutely, materially, it was very, very, very backward. Very few buses used to come here. It will take ages to come here from the city. And very few will venture. And even news about Swami was very, very scanty. We never knew whether Swami is here or not. Very few elders used to have that news. Dr. Padmanabhan, great devotee of Swami. Gangadhar Shetty sir, very few people used to know Dr. Chandar. So my father and a few colleagues of my father in his office. So we had to keep on asking whether Swami is coming, when he is coming, whether he is there or not. So one such beautiful morning, I accompanied my father here to this place. And my father was intent that he should tell Swami that I had taken Sanskritam in 8th standard. I don't know, it was not a great event by any this thing at all that. But you know, Swami is Swami. So as soon as Swami came out, you know, not many sevadals and people won't tell you to sit down and this and that and all that. All these things were hardly any sevadals. I don't remember any. So a lot of freedom was there, and Swami used to control through his love only. He used to say, shh, sit down, sit down, sit down. So we just stood up. My father stood up and then told Swami that my son has taken 8th standard, Sanskritam in 8th standard. I was about 7-8 people away, very young and hardly knowing what is happening here and feeling very cold and sometimes feeling, I don't know, I could have stayed in my house, why did I come here, that sort of a thing and all. Then immediately Swami came near me, about 10 feet, created vibhuti and then gave. Nothing very spectacular. Because you know, in those days, a 12-year-old boy or somebody getting vibhuti and all, everybody will crane their necks and then see, oh, who is this fellow who's got that and all that. And I was blinking and then Swami gave that, I ate it. And then Swami said, Bhaga Chadu, Nayana. The words are still ringing. The Swami who came out in June 67 is still fresh in my mind. And it had tremendous potency. Those words had tremendous potential. Over the years, I have been fortunate to receive Swami's Vibhuti several times, and I found every time it sort of transformed me in some way, created Vibhuti. And the words that Swami utters had some strange effect, and the meaning of those words were immediately very... What is this? I am just in 8th standard and what is the study well and this and that. It just goes off. It's just there in your mind and you just go and play and other things. Chronologically, the second incident that I remember is July 69, Guru Purnima. We were told by my father and some devotees that Swami is going to give Amritam. And we had heard about Amritam. in the scriptures and other this thing and all that. So we were very intent. The whole family was very intent. Father, mother, myself, my sister, brother, and all that. We were planning to come here in spite of all the difficulties. And by His grace, we came. There was a speech. I don't remember exactly where the speech was. There was a speech by Swami, and after the speech, Swami started distributing Amritam. He had a jug, beautiful silver jug, and had a beautiful silver spoon. We thought that somebody else is going to distribute or something and all that. Swami started distributing. And the whole place was full of devotees. And hardly any seva there, and the people used to fall on him. And some sort of a line was made. And slowly and steadily, each person, Swami started giving. And we were very, very thrilled. We were just noticing him, when he's going to come near us, when is he going to give. So much of love, so much of patience. And Swami, inch by inch, one by one, Pada Namaskaram, you can take to your heart's content. Till you see the feet, you just keep your hands on it. And we feasted our eyes on his form and had the Amritam. In fact, 3-4 hours Swami gave. And after 9 o'clock, there was one close devotee, Raja Reddy Garu. He gave another 2-3 hours. My mother and others got at 11 or 12, and they came at 12 or 1 o'clock. But we were full of bliss. That Amritam was real Amritam within. With all the difficulties and the, you wouldn't have taken tiffin, or you wouldn't have, it would be very cold, you have to go back, 3 hours it will take and all that. But every time in the first 3-4 years I came, there was something very young, and I could have played and done something, this, that and all that. What is it that was making me come? I used to wonder. One smile of Swami and one look, that was what we were expecting. He was not talking to me at all in the initial years. But even though my father had got a couple of interviews in 60s, he was not talking to me. I used to just observe him, and if he just sees me for a fraction of a minute, gives a smile, that was enough for me to go through all the audience to come here and then go back to all the old audience. My first experience in Prashanthi Nilayam was in February 17. All of us, like the Guru Purnima, all of us, the whole family went. For the first time, I stepped on the sacred soil of Prashanthi Nilayam, even though my father technically had been going there. It was very primitive, just one shed. You could also sleep in the veranda there, the old building of Prashanthi Nilayam. You could sleep in the veranda if you wanted, anybody. And people used to sleep inside the bhajan hall also. Everything was informal. There was a canteen. It had food, the main ingredients of which was tamarind and chilies. It was very, very digestive. All food was very digestive. The external surroundings were primitive. But the other part of it, you had to go to Chitravati for everything. You had to carry your own bowls and all that. Swami used to come out at 7:30. Completely 200, 300 people, almost everybody will get a chance, either an interview or some words or a smile or namaskaram. And bhajans used to be from 11 to 12. And 11 sharp Swami will be there in the bhajan hall. And 12 after the heart will be 1 hour bhajan in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, 6 to 7. Complete darshan. You'll be dripped in Swami's bliss and grace. On the one side you have the primitive surroundings, on the other side you have 7-8 hours of Swami's company, which used to make us into raptures. So that was a beautiful experience of Ananda, divine Ananda. Because you're near Swami and you're drenched with this Ananda. Somehow it gets into your own physiology, you forget everything and you're into it. And you remember it for all time to come. And now I'll have to introduce a little bit of my education. As Karthik was saying, I did my chemistry honors from Delhi. and I wanted to continue MSc or something. But before that, there were two events. One event was Swami came to Delhi in 72, and he stayed 9 days in Sri Sohanlalji's house. He was a member of parliament, and we were all volunteers. The first time I was introduced as a volunteer, the taste of seva, the taste of service, when I was 18, 17. And it was fantastic. 24/7. Swami was available almost from 5:30 in the morning till 9 in the night. There was Nagar Sankirtan, and at the end of it, Swami would give that Vishwarupa Darshan from the first floor. The crowds used to be continuously, they surrounded the residence of Swami in those days. Just surrounded. Nothing would make them go. Compound wall was broken. And Swami obliged by coming. Unscheduled darshans were so many. Once they could see and all that, he went and walked on the parapet wall. He walked on the parapet wall. The figure of Swami was something unimaginable at that time. He could do anything. Body was a tremendous thing. And Swami walked on the parapet wall to give darshan. Morning till night. But we were not just devotees who had come here to enjoy. We had to volunteer service. We had to crowd control and all that. Mostly we were watching Swami on the not doing any crowd control. It's an opportunity to have a darshan. That is the flop side of the whole thing. But 9 days and 2 public speeches. Swami went to Shimla and Moga. Tremendous bliss and the taste of seva. And on the last day, Swami rewarded us with a 2-hour interview exclusively for Seva Das. And that is the first, I think, group interview I got, and I was very, very happy about it. And Swami spoke and then gave prasadam. On the first day itself, he gave us badges. He himself used to give badges. Any number of badges he used to give us. We have received and then kept it. Whether we did any thing to it is anybody's guess. The next important event which really triggered a change in my life is summer camp 1973. That was the second summer camp. The first summer camp Swami did in 1972. The second, 1973. Well, these hospital buildings were not there. And Swami's residence was there, but at the back he had made a pandal. It was about 1/3 of this attached. And that is like your auditorium hall. There was no auditorium hall, there was no college here. College was there. I remember the college inauguration day on 9 June 69. There was a shed here and 5 students were there. That is the first, there are some students in the first or second class, still they are my friends. Only a small shed here where 5 students were there. That was the hostel, that was like a teaching class and like a few teachers were there. One used to come down with residents and spend a lot of time with them. The external environment was primitive and internally Swami was flooding everybody with grace. The 73 summer camp was very, very unique. In the sense, the first day I came to Delhi, it was raining and Swami arranged for us to eat with him. That was like something you were totally unexpected and more things were there. 7, 8 rooms, I don't remember how many rooms were there in the residence, and he apologized profusely and then said, if you don't mind, you can eat with me. I will also eat along with you. So it was a fantastic experience and eating with Swami or something. It took a few minutes as usual and went around. The 30-day summer camp, Vajagovanda was this thing, all the 30 days Swami spoke. It was packed with programs, right from Nagar Sankirtan, and then there was a balcony sort of a thing there in the building. It was not it's an open balcony somehow. And in the morning after the Nagar Sankirtan, we used to sing there, ending. And Swami used to stand there every day, all the 30 days. And we used to observe the halo, Swami's halo, behind the wall, moving along with Swami. There is, if you have to talk about that summer camp, that will take 1 hour. That summer camp, Swami Right from morning, he was there available for all the devotees, all the students, 600 students from all over India. And right from Nagar Sankirtan, that Vishwarupa Darshan, then there used to be yoga. He used to come and correct our yogasanas. Then breakfast used to be there, going round and round and round and round. Then the classes used to start. Before the classes itself, he will go there, we also go there. In the classes, he used to just come and sit next to anybody. You don't know. He just comes and smiling and just sit next to you. 9 to 12 classes and then 3 to 5 classes. And then evening again speeches, the summary and other things. All the time he was there. If there is a summer camp in which Swami is not there all the time, I feel very odd. Because I have an experience. So, some of my friends who have attended that summer camp are still my friends, and whenever we meet, we only talk about it. It was so full of bliss. Swami taught a lot in those days, the summer camp. At that time, television had come only in Delhi. At that time, Swami said television is television. Now, of course, without television, nobody lives. And then, do you see cinema? He asked. He can't say no. So, he said, if you see cinema, see niyama in cinema. See models. Don't see all of it. And every day, on Sunday, we used to have some Shraddha, and Swami used to distribute ice creams to all the 600 students from his own hand. One day, I still remember, near the gate, Swami was standing, and we were all going here and there, classes were not there. Suddenly, we were running around here. There was a camera, and Swami had just then created a Mysore Pak, big one. And it was melting. It was very hot. And he was holding it there, and all of us, we were supposed to take a little bit of it. I remember that. Now, cutting short some of these incidents, which gives a lot of bliss. It's the Sai Bhagavatam. After I finished my in chartered accountancy examination, I was totally blank, even though I had studied 6-7 months. And I simply kept the paper and then started praying. Simply started praying. How long I don't know. After some time, I just woke up sort of and started writing. The whole thing was a success. What Swami had said in 1967, study well, it is not just a request to me to study well and an order to study well. It was, it's a command to study well. That's all. You study well and you will get it. Whatever you write, you will get it. Even if the answers are wrong, you will get it. That has been my experience in my own, be it pre-university or BSc or chartered accountancy or whatever it is now, till I passed out of CA. After I passed out, I wanted to work with Swami in Swami's institutions exactly. Swami wouldn't take me at that time. I had not matured, probably. The time was not okay. And I got some appointment orders and then got it blessed by Swami and joined some company here. But life was not what I wanted it to be. 9 years I was in Bangalore, I was all happy, just going, and then I always thought that you should work for all this things, all that, the money, this, that, just work for Swami, and all other things will be taken care of. That was there in the back of my mind right from the beginning. So, the November 79, my work, employment started. I was feeling miserable and I got an opportunity to go abroad, Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. And I was there for about 2 years. When I was there, the really very strong turning point in my life. I've been there for about 16 months. And around June, July 1990, I had a very strong urge to quit the whole thing and then come and join Swami. I was just wondering, what am I doing here? Earning money and this and that and all that. I can continue with all these things for some more time and then go back and then build some house and this and that and all that. But not giving any satisfaction. Something lasting, something deep, something which I really love to do, I would like to do. And then I read a little bit of Kathopanishad, where Lord Yama tells Nachiketa about Shreyas and Preyas, the path of the pleasant, the path of the good, long lost of good. Something I read, very haphazardly, but those things kept coming. I said, first let me go to India and then, for a long time I have not seen Swami hand darshan. Let me go to India and then start. Let me ask Swami what I should do. Swami did not talk to me very much those days and all that, but still I said, yes, let me. So in July I came here, I came along with my father. We stayed for 4 days. I had only 15 days leave. I came to Puttaparthi, I went to Puttaparthi, and Swami didn't see me or talk to me or anything. I met one chartered accountant who was working there, who was still there. He said, you give letters to Swami and all that, and I started doing that. And 4 days I stayed, nothing happened. I came back to Bangalore. Again, there was an urge. I went back again. I think it was 12th July 1990. Went back, scribbled something around 3 o'clock in the afternoon before Swami's darshan about my name, my kasha. And when Swami came around 3:30, 4 o'clock, I just thrust that violator, whatever you call it, small paper. Nothing happened. Swami just smiled and nothing happened. I went back, I was living in a shed there, nobody would give me movement. I just relaxed in the shed around 7 in the night, evening. The secretary of the trust came to the shed. He said, he asked, is there anybody by the name of Parthasari? Parthasari is my father's name. The biodata I just said Parthasari Krishna Kumar or something. I didn't bother, my name was not Parthasari, I was very sure. Whatever other things were. And he kept on 10 minutes and then suddenly he said, is there any chartered account in this shed? Suddenly I woke up and then I said, I declared myself as one. And said, I am the chartered account. Then what is your full name? I said, yes. He said, I have been calling you for 10 minutes. What are you doing? You come. Swami has told me to make you sit in front of the first arch. Kulwant Hall was not there in 95. First arch. I asked him what and all that. He said, I don't know. He told me to tell you this and you better come at 7 in the morning and then sit there. There was another chartered accountant who was also waiting. Subsequently, he joined the university of Mohan Krishna. Next day morning, Swami came and he passed through. After the lady side, he passed through that arch, didn't bother much. Took some people for interview, went to the interview room. Nicely, one hour the interview was going on, but we decided we should stay there. We didn't want to lose. The first interview was over. We were wondering what's going to happen. Swami's actions are very, very uncertain. Nobody knows what he's going to do. When he says something, you don't know what it really implies and when it's going to fructify or not. After the first interview was over, we were all like just seen from the first arch outside to the interview room. Swami standing there about 150 feet. And just 2-3 minutes he did something and suddenly looked towards us and then called us. That was a 100-meter sprint. I think Usain Bolt will be proud of it if he had seen that. We were in the interview room even before Swami could enter. We were waiting for that. And Swami called a few more people. It was the second interview. Few more people. And we were inside. Swami spoke to a few people, then called me and the other chartered accountant to the inner interview room. and asked directly, when are you going to join? I had just given a letter the previous day at 4 o'clock or something. 7 o'clock, the secretary calls, and next day morning, Swami says, when are you going to join? Where to join? I just wanted to work there. I had given that. But when are you going to join and all that? I asked Swami, can I come here? Shall I resign the job abroad and then come here and all that? Yes, yes. I saw your letter, he said. You can come. You can work for me. Then after 10-15 minutes, he spoke to us and then he said, I'll call you tomorrow. The next day, we were not seated, we didn't have the privilege to sit there. We were seated somewhere in the East Prashanti back, some 20 rows or something, 10-20 rows. Swami came all the way. From a long distance, he said, 2 of you come. We were wondering whether you're going to miss us, whether he'll forget. Yesterday he said this, that, and all sorts of things were going on. Called us and spoke for, not only 2, some waiting boys were there. About 7-8 boys were there. And Swami spoke to us for about 1.5 hours. That was very, very serious talk. Swami mentioned it's a rare privilege to serve divinity. You have to be very clear before you come here what you want from here, and mind should not waver after that. Coming here and doing something for some time, then going off and this and that is not good for you. And so many things which he said didn't make too much of a meaning at that time. All those things were recorded in our brain and we didn't attach too much of importance. Here we have not even joined and we are somewhere working abroad and all that. Then coming here, let us join and afterwards, let us see what it is and other things and all that. I went back and resigned, came back and joined in December 90. That was the beginning. December 90 was the beginning of Seva. And by His grace, these last 21 years has been, even though eventful, He has seen me through all the ups and downs that one generally goes through. When I came back, and immediately I left the house without telling anything. I told them 3-4 days I was there. I had not settled all the bank account, that nothing. Just went to Puttaparthi, that's all. That was the end of it. I thought that 14th December or something, I still remember the date, 1990, and I thought once I go there, immediately Swami will call me, give me something service. Nothing of that kind happened. 15th December, 16th, 21st, 22nd, 30th, 31st, nothing. And January, also nothing happened, January 1st week. Second week, Swami came to Vrindavan. I also came here, I stayed with my parents here. Swami would see me and wouldn't say anything. Then he went back, I also went back. Then Swami slowly started interacting. He said, what do you want to do here? I said, Swami, I want to serve. He said, you want to teach in the university or you want to work in the trust? I said, I would like to teach. Oh, I see. He kept quiet because that was not his idea. And how to teach me so that I won't teach the others, it became a dilemma for him. So what he would say is, you go and meet a so-and-so trustee and take his advice. So every day he would say, you go and meet so-and-so, go and meet the registrar, meet the trustee, meet somebody else and this and that and all that. I was just wondering what is happening. I wanted to come. I gave him a letter. He said, okay. Having come here, what is happening? But Swami wouldn't trust anything on anybody. He wanted me to learn the lesson. Whenever he asked something, I should say it is so, as per Swami's will, I'll do. I was very, very far from that position at that time. I had my own will in everything. And Swami started his lessons. So the first lesson was, you don't choose what you should do or should not do. Trust me. Having trusted me by coming here, when I ask something, you say, no, I want this, I want that. What is really good for you, what is not really good for you, you won't know. I know. You leave it to me. Till that lesson was learnt, he never got me into any service. And after 2.5 months, I also used to introspect. And I said, there is something wrong with me. Otherwise, this can't go on. And every day, but I was very happy that Swami was talking to me, but nothing was happening, and I was wondering, what am I doing here, sort of. And slowly the transformation Swami was doing from within. I didn't know all this within and without business and all that coming from outside. And of course, even though I had been coming to Swami, all part-time Sevadal, coming, doing something and then going and all that, once you go to the ambit near him, inwardly, the change has to take place, and he sees to it that it takes place. How? It's a very slow process if you don't learn. If you introspect and learn and try to surrender, it's a very fast process. There must have been so many devotees who would have been evolved enough to really grasp this whole scenario and surrender to him, and very fast they'll ingratiate themselves to Swami and all that. But I was a very slow learner. Even today I'm learning so many things which he taught me long time back. So then I started introspecting, and then I said, why should I decide? Why not I leave it to him? There's definitely he's playing, and these are his leelas. Now let me now try some other tactics. Let me just say, Swami, it's your will. I don't know half-heartedly or full-heartedly, I can't still recollect. At least I said, okay, let me try. Somebody said, you go and pray to that Ganesh, in that Ganesh gate nearby, then Swami will give you and all that. All sorts of things I started trying. Then, one day when my father had come from Bangalore and all that, suddenly Swami said, he called us for an interview. That was on the 15th of February 91, after about 2 months or something at all this play. And then in that interview, among so many things, he said, I'll give you some service. And you don't teach, you work here in the trust. So the first service was book trust, 91. And every day there's not much work, and the accounts and other things and all that they're not much, very complicated and all that. I could do it fast, 1 or 2 hours. The best part of it was morning and evening I could go and sit in the bhajan hall and happily enjoy his darshan. Then, and 2-3 years went. Swami gave some additional responsibilities, like you look after the Bhakta Sahayak Sangh accounts, always accounts only, finance and accounts and all that. Okay. Then one day in 95, after Mahasivaratri, suddenly I got a call on the next day from 2 trust members. They said, we would like to meet you. You come to some room in Prashanti Nilayam. I was wondering what is happening. Suddenly, all this call, I was quiet, having Swami's darshan, and suddenly, what is this official, this thing and all that? They said, as soon as they saw me, they said, Swami wants you to handle finance and accounts of Central Trust. Central Trust is the main trust in Prashanti Nilayam. All donations come there. That is the only trust which is operated by Swami himself. And all payments, important payments and all projects are done from there. That is the main trust. I was very surprised and shocked. I was 40. And Central Trust is manned by very, very senior members, trust members, very old devotees. They are all very seasoned, very experienced. And here am I, not knowing anything, just a little bit of accounts and all that. Finance and accounts of that was something very scary. But coming from Swami, and I said, whatever Swami says, I'll do. And that was the second part of the surrender lesson that Swami began. Water project, Anantapur water project began in March. 1995. It was a 300 crore project. On February end, 28th February, Swami says, you handle finance and accounts. Evening, I get a news that I'm supposed to meet Swami the next day in his residence along with the trustee with some papers. I was totally, I don't know what, but deep inside, I totally trusted Swami, even though the surface mind used to say, what is happening? So many official things and all that. So the next day, I couldn't sleep in the night. The next day, with trepidation and other things and all that, the first time I'm entering his residence and with a trustee, and water project has started, pipes had come. It was a very massive project. The pipes and materials were more than 100 crores, and L&T was the main contractor. Their bill was more than 100 crores. I had never passed such huge bills as a chartered accountant in this life. I don't know whether previous lives I'd have passed. Huge bills, pipes, nothing in lakhs, everything was in crores only. And very few people, students had not yet joined trust and all that. They started joining in 98. 95 and hardly anybody. The entire burden of this thing was there. The first day I go, and then Swami was talking beautifully, lovingly. Only the trustee, Swami and myself were there, and he was explaining to me the water project, the features of that, so many thousands of kilometers of pipes. Lawson and Tubro is there. A. Ramakrishna, who is the chief of that, is our devotee. He's a fantastic devotee. And Swami was explaining that this is how this thing, you handle the accounts and other things and all that. I was really... But I always had a feeling that Swami will take care. There is no this thing and all that, whether staff are there or not, whether this thing is there. I just have to pray, then Swami will do the rest, sort of a thing. The entire water project of 3.5 years, all the checks, only I had to give, I had to write the check and Swami will sign. Swami is the sole signatory and he will sign. And I have one pen, which is, in that pen only I used to make that check. I had got it as a gift from somebody. And Swami used to take that pen and then sign. I kept it very jealously, guarded it. All, be it 1 lakh or be it 15 crores, I had to see whether it had to be paid or not, verify that. Whether I had any assistance or not, ultimately I had to report. And then Swami will just, he won't ask the bills, he won't ask anything. He said, Chusava. That one word itself, you'll have to be very, very careful. Because, the Chusava means he has gone through all this in his omniscience. And before that, before saying, Aun Swami Chusana or something, before that, you will have to really do a lot of homework, whatever the time, previous night, or this or that and all that. Once I say, okay, you say, check way. So I used to write the check and he'll just sign. I have never worked under any boss who will just sign crores and crores of checks like that. And Swami was the only boss who was like that. And that's it. I used to wonder, I used to carry some vouchers and this and that, what generally we do in finance and all that. I don't know whether finance people are here. And Swami will just say, no, avanni oddu akade petuko. Just write the check. Right from 95 till 2006, that has been the practice. So the water project was about 3.5 years. It finished only around 98, September, October, and was inaugurated and all that. The entire finance, accounts, and not only that, that was only a small part of it. The central trust work and other this thing and all that. And he said, anytime if you want, you can come to my residence and all that. That was something unimaginable in my life. When I came to Prashanti Nilayam, I thought I might get one interview. Swami may see me. Swami may smile at me. Because, so much of desire was there in my mind that Swami should come near, he should speak to me. and you should smile, you should always call me, and all that. Completely in that Central Trust, that 3.5 years, almost he satisfied all those desires of Samipyam, Salokyam, Sayujyam, and Sarupyam, I don't know. That requires a lot of spiritual this thing. Salokyam and Samipyam, being near him. So, I have written a lot on this experience itself. Swami will just, I could go to his residence, I'll just sit down, and then in the chair, he'll keep on reading letters. He had quite a lot of baskets on the right side and quite a lot on the left side. He'll take each one of the devotees' letters. Sometimes he'll talk, kya samachar, he'll say, emi samacharam. Sometimes he'll just take the letter, read it, throw it here. Sometimes he'll not even read, he'll just throw. And he'll ask, immediately a doubt will come. Swami reading all the letters and other things and all that. Immediately he'll catch. He'll say, pick up that. And then tell the contents. Every situation, Swami will act as human and divine. And when he is acting what is happening, any devotee will get confused. If you go near him, you will see a lot of human aspects. And if you think he is human, immediately the divine aspect will be there, and then you don't know what's what. Sometime back, about a few minutes back, he was asking me what is this and other things and all that. Now when I am about to tell him that and all that, he repeats everything, even without my telling me. Is it a drama? Is it this thing and other things and all that? After the water project was over and all that, 2001, after that project was over and all that, he just kept me like that in cold storage. He said, just be there, that's all. You won't talk and other things and all. 2001, before Yugadi, he just called me one day and then said, you go and work in Whitefield Super Specialty Hospital. That is a very surprising thing, because 2-3 years after the water project, I had not done much. And suddenly Swami said, you be in charge of finance there, you go and work. Every month you come and then meet me. So every month he had given an opportunity to make the budget for the hospital, and then go and then present it to him, tell him about all the hospital work that is going on, the operations and other this thing and all that. And month after month, every month it used to be 1 hour or 1.25 hours, tremendous amount of love and wisdom poured from every cell of Swami, which hopefully I have absorbed a little bit of it. Now, this is the structure. Various events happened in these last 44 years, particularly in the last 20 years. Now, what is it that as Bhagavatas, I'm one like you, that we have learned, or that's very appealing? Of course, the love that poured out of Swami is unimaginable. And Swami's love was like sunlight. Not focused on one, two, it's not narrow. It's like sunlight. If you bask in it, if you sit near him, time stops. Your mind stops. You don't know where you are. You don't want this whole thing to end. You don't want this thing to end at all. Swami is sitting there in the chair, you sit down. 1 hour, 2 hours also you don't want. In some of the water project meetings where L&T and others were there and all that, 3 hours also he gave opportunity just to sit and gaze at him. It's very, very difficult to imagine a situation where day in and day out you are looking at somebody, you don't get bored, you want more of it, you are very hungry for this darshan. And even if he doesn't speak, sometimes I have sat near him for even half an hour or 45 minutes without a word. He will just read the letters or do something and this and that and all that. But drenched in that bliss. You don't want to just get out of it. You feel that should not end at all. What is it that was in Swami that made us enjoy his Samipyam so much to the exclusion of anything in life that he can think of. That is what is really, thinking of that now in the last 20 years, whatever has happened, it gives so much of bliss to me. There, the moment Swami used to push the, this thing, Padam, this thing was there, that was a dread, that moment we dread. Because, the whole thing is going to close. We don't know next what is going to happen. In the sense, next time whether he'll get or not, you can't take anything for granted with Swami. So, the unconditional love, and Swami attached a lot of importance to Seva. We treat it not in the same, we don't give that much of importance to Seva as Swami did. Once, when the water project was in full steam, the trust ran out of funds. It is recorded, so I can go public. Swami himself has spoken in public. We had to borrow. Swami borrowed crores and crores to implement the Anantapur water project from a bank. I was keeping all accounts of overdraft and other things and all that. I had to faithfully report how many you have borrowed and all that, what is the donation, how we do that. Swami was not at all perturbed. So one day in Prashanti Nilayam, I was a familiar figure. Some of the functionaries, without telling Swami, we joined together, small people, this, that and all that. We said, we all will donate some 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. These were nothing compared to the 300 crores that Swami is spending. But we were feeling a bit guilty. Swami is borrowing, and what is this? Trust was borrowing. So I made about 30, 40 checks, all Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust, account payee and other things and all that. And one day stealthily when I went to him, he just said, Swami, the ashramites who are working here, gave this. He gave such a stern look. He said, who asked you to collect all this? I don't need money. Money will come. If the motives are selfless, money will come by itself. And you go and give everybody from whom you are taken, give them this, the check back, tell them Swami is very, very happy with the seva that they are doing. He values the seva much more than money. Money will come and this project will go on. Many of functionaries, they doubt whether water will come, whether money will come and all that. When Swami undertakes something, there is absolutely no doubt at all. These are all passing clouds. But seva is more important to me. So you tell each one of them and then come and tell me tomorrow what you told them. So it was quite an ordeal, 30, 40 people going and telling them, give the check back, and then say Swami is very, very happy that he doesn't want your check and he's very happy with the seva. Seva is higher than anything. So, regarding omniscience, any number of times Swami used to make it known to me very indirectly that he knows everything. Once he gave a gift, around 2002, 2003, when I had gone for the month end, I brought that gift and kept it here. I stay here. And one of my nephews had come after about 10, 15 days. And when he was about to leave, I thought of giving this gift to him. Suddenly, I remembered this gift is given to me by Swami. I shouldn't part with it to somebody. 3 times it happened. Then I forgot about it. I gave him something and then the whole thing was over. It was around 10th or something of that month. I go there on the 30th. And Swami, as usual, all our monthly meetings used to be official meetings and some personal, this, that and all that. 1 hour went off, nothing happened. Then in the afternoon, he called me and one of my colleagues to the interview room and said, when he called in, we were very, said, Swami is going to speak something about official things, this, that, and other thing. The first thing Swami said is, I simply wanted to talk to both of you. There is nothing, no agenda. You're all looking after the hospital there. If you're happy, you look after that well. And then started talking very nicely. And suddenly turned to me and then said these words. If I give any gift to you, it doesn't matter even if you part with it to others. There is nothing wrong with it. Because your act is you want to give something to others. How will you feel? This episode, my parents don't know. My colleague who stays with me, he doesn't know. I have not told this to anybody. It happens around 15th or something of this month. 30th you go, and very smilingly he says, there's nothing wrong. And then pats. Any number of such incidents, the time is too short for that, wherein specifically he wanted me to know that I know everything, just keep quiet. One of these month end, when I went there, all the two hospitals and the university, four of us used to meet, Swami. The presentation made by the hospital and university took a long time, I didn't get much time. So I was just wondering, before the interview ended, I asked Swami, I want to meet you again in the evening, why don't you call me? Swami just kept quiet. Swami came for darshan around 3:30 and called me. And between 12:30 and 3:30, I had prepared elaborately of so many points in the hospital, what I should ask. So many of them were there. 7, 8 at least. I had to ask and then get, because the whole month I won't be coming here and what's going to happen and all that. This time he called me, and the first thing he says is, what is it that I don't know that you are going to tell me now? Imagine 3 hours before, so I said, what is this, what is that, how many doctors did that, nothing and all that. He says, what is it that I don't know that you are going to tell me now fresh? Before I could answer anything, one by one, all the 7, 8 points, he said, this is what you wanted to tell me. Every one of these points he repeated, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Now, what do you make of such a person? Sometimes he says, no, you should have told me. Why didn't you tell me you're failing? Once I told him, Swami, you know everything. Why are you asking me? He said, I know everything, but it's your duty to tell me. It will purify you. It's for you to grow that way. You know, Swami's avatarhood itself is only an opportunity for us. Everything that he did is an opportunity for the devotees who love him and who have called him. They could be from any religion, any caste, any creed, anywhere. Nothing really. If you have love for God, then you're Swamis. Others are also Swamis, but we don't realize that. And everything was an opportunity for the devotees to enjoy the love. See, even dushta sikshana or something, punishing the wicked and all that, these are all negative things God never does. God is all love, and the love of the devotees, sages prayed and I came. Our own love concretized as Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. And everything he did was to give us an opportunity. Avataram vachinade avakasham ivadaniki. So everything is an opportunity provided to us. Working in the hospital, working in the trust, working anywhere. I'll give you one small example in the Central Trust. Once I took some bills to be paid, material bills to be paid for the water project. Lakhs and lakhs. I don't know, I didn't check properly. Just took it. Swami saw. On that occasion he said, Tarvatara. Ipudoddu. I was a bit this thing, the suppliers are calling and this and that, what is it that I should do? Swami saying like this and all that. That's all. The words were there, I immediately came back. Then suddenly I realized, let me check. I started rechecking the whole thing. Unimaginable errors were there. For the first time and the last time. And I was shuddering. How did I take this to Swami? We would have paid lakhs more. And whole night I called somebody here, there and other things and all that, started checking and then made a thorough investigation to the whole thing. Next day went and confessed. to Swami, Swami, this is what I found. Yesterday you didn't sign that. Nakanni telusu, he said. So the point is, everything is known to divinity. Omniscience, omnipotence and omnipresence is, I cannot believe if anybody says that Swami is not omnipresent or omniscient or omnipotent. Any number of anything he could do. But if he does, see, Lord Sri Rama could have killed Ravana from wherever he was and then got back Sita any length of time. Then where is the Hanuman's role there? Where are the Vanara's role? And I brought this to the correct topic of Vanaras. So the Seva, smallest. And I remember the episode of Draupadi with Lord Krishna. Once Lord Krishna had got injured in one of the fingers, and others were there. One started bringing some medicine, another started bringing some cloth to tie and this and that and all that. Draupadi alone cut a bit of the sari and tied it, and the blood stopped. And we all know what happened later and how the Lord saved her. Seva has got, we have to do something. We have to take one step. Some faith, some seva, something. Swami used to say, even at least give some water in the canteen. Do something. So, seva, not expecting. Of course, we'll say that we should not expect and all that. It's very, very difficult not to expect anything. At least to expect God's grace. Or, all my 44 years, I always expected whenever Swami used to be there, will he see me? Will he talk to me? Will he smile me? That never left me. I never said, no, everything is Swami's, this thing and all that. That craving for Swami's darshan, sparshan, sambhashan, that is what preserves our devotion, that never leaves any devotee. The moment Swami is going to come for darshan and all that, we are very thrilled. Will he come near? Will he smile? Will he talk? Will he call us for an interview? I don't think any devotee will say, no, I don't want an interview. No, what is there and other things and all that. I am the Atma and other things and all that. All those things then we won't be here. If we are the Atma and we are everywhere, we might be the Atma, but still, we want God's, the darshan, sparshan, sambhashan. We crave for that very craving, that love, that one Swami said, your spiritual hunger has decreased. I'll see to it increases. And stop talking. He said spirituality is about spiritual hunger. You should hunger for God. And if it decreases, Swami said, your spiritual hunger has decreased, I'll teach you. I'll increase it. And he will ignore any number of such treatment. The one part of which I have related is okay. But the other part where he has developed my soul by ignoring, by not talking, by saying, no, you're doing this, that and all that. How I came through and all that is a big story. But the point is, both we'll have to take. With Swami, you'll have to take both happily. Even though you'll be hurt at that time, happily you'll have to take it. And then say, if Swami does this, then there is a meaning to it. It is for my good and only good things will happen. If we do that, there is no end to the blessings that are waiting for you. One more. I don't know how long the sponsors will allow me. A few more minutes. Once he stopped talking in the Central Trust era, and he used to give every year dress for the birthday and other this thing and all that. That particular birthday, he didn't give dress or anything. He didn't talk and he didn't give dress. Inside, everything was, a volcano was going on. And a little bit of philosophy, I'll read and just talk to somebody and this and that. And mind used to be quite woolly. Pray to Swami also. Nothing happened, and he gave to everybody almost. The boys used to come there. He distributed watches, clothes, this, that, before his birthday. Scrupulously avoided me. In the veranda, when he gave to people this side and that side, I don't think Swami has any sight problems for avoiding me. It was a deliberate. That was not the first time. So many things have happened. Something was going on, churning was going on. 2 months, quite a lot of muck must have come out, or at least come up. Around Makara Sankranti, I get a tap in our door. We stay in West Prashanti there. And Mr. Chiranjeev Rao is there outside. And the first thing he says is, he has 2 dresses in his hands. And he says, Swami told me to tell you that he forgot to give you these dresses during birthday. To compensate that, he gave 2 dresses to you now. I was very happy, at least I was treated as an entity after a long time. But imagine how, if he had forgotten in the veranda, when so many people are given, if one person is, Swami, sometimes he comes again and again and all that. I shifted my places also on that day. Okay, in this row, if he doesn't come, let me try this row, sort of. All these are our tremendous intelligence, crooked intelligence at work. And after 2 months after the birthday, he says, he sends an emissary and then says he forgot and he feels bad about it. And to compensate it, 2 dresses are there and other things and all that. Because, I would feel very bad about it. That day you didn't give in front of everybody. You insulted me by not giving. Swami is both a giver and a taker. If you only think that Swami will keep on giving you, every time you come, he will give an interview. Every time you come, he will smile at you. Every time, all problems will be solved. That's not been my experience and many of the devotees and all that. In giving and not giving, we'll have to learn. That is the real secret of Swami's being with Swami. When he gives, taking it is one of the easiest thing to do. He keeps on giving when he gives. It doesn't rain, it pours, they say, no? The grace pours like anything. But be sure, the other day, the D-Day is very, very nearby. Suddenly he will feign total ignorance of the existence of your existence. The drama will start. I have seen him in monthly meetings also. If 4 of us are there, he can avoid one person sitting right in front of him. From my own personal experience, I can tell you, that itself will pinch you. If you really value his, the company and everything that Swami stands for, till you inquire, in that pain only you'll have to inquire. If during that time, if you think egoistically that I'll leave and go, I don't want this, all along you are talking to me, why have you stopped, what mistake have I done, what fault have I committed, I am okay, you are talking to people who are not that great, I am greater than them, all sorts of things will come. If you leave and go, then you miss it. You miss the bus. You don't evolve. With Swami, the evolution is with giving and not giving. Initial 23, 24 years from 66, 67 and all that, very little darshan, temporary darshan, sevadal, this, that and other things and all that. The pining increased. From 90 it started. First 6 years it was tremendous. Next 4 years, just like wood or stone. Another 5, 6 years, tremendous. Then it becomes, you will have to handle this. Everyone, every devotee, be a trustee or a member or closest principal or anybody, goes through that at various, this thing and all that, introspects. He doesn't at that time judge Swami. He doesn't say that, no, you're wrong and I am right. What wrong have I committed and other things and all that. That is why it's not that once you come to Swami, everything will go okay, all my exams I will pass, I'll get the best job, the best salary, nobody will insult me. Nothing of that sort. You will have to take everything, but he'll give the grace to bear all the things that you have to control. He gives the grace before itself. Before an event happens itself, he knows. How can he do it for millions and millions of people? That is divinity. So if I have to summarize Swami's this thing and all that, Ishwaror Gurur Atmeti. Ishvara, Guru and Atma are one. And to me, in this 44 years, whatever evolution has taken place, still a lot to go. To me, Swami was Ishvara, Guru and Atma. All the three. 3 in 1. You have 3 in 1 era. As the inner Sai is the Atma. As an outer Sai who took a form, lived for 84 years, He was Guru and Atma and Ishvara also. Because the omniscience is Ishvara's property. Omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence is Ishvara's property. We can't see the body and then say, oh, the body was like this and all that. Inwardly, Swami was aware. Swami said, every person who comes to my darshan, I know is past, present and future. It's no empty statement. Nobody can just make a statement and get away. 100% it is true. Any number of times, any number of incidents, I have not exhausted all the incidents, I have told about 10 or 15% of that. Again and again, Swami, if we are really keen, if you take the first step, you have faith, the first initial surrender we do, then He takes you, holds your hand and takes you step by step by step by step. The next step, you don't ask Him what is it, because it is very scary, only He knows. Lead, kindly light. He takes us. But the first step itself, we don't know. If I go there, whether what salary they will give me, whether that is enough or not, we don't know. What will be the conditions? Will I get an accommodation? Will I get 2 rooms? I got 4 people. Nothing of that sort. Initially itself, we have all these doubts. Nothing happens. All these 21 years, we had only 1 room. And my parents also stay with me. We have not had any problems. The second room comes only, there is a problem for us. In Puttaparthi, Swami gave 1 room. Here also, he gave 1 room. Absolutely no problems. You have to sleep down, we sleep down gladly. We have to sleep on the cot, we sleep. Absolutely, because the mindset is there. Swami has given. That is a prasadam, nothing more. Once he said very tantalizingly, he said, 1 room, so many people, 3 of you and other things and all that. I feel very bad about it. I'll find out. I'll talk to some trustee and then find out 2 rooms and other things and all that. Just he was trying to see what sort of reply this fellow is going to give and all that. I said, Swami, no, why 2 rooms? It desires and other things and all, some philosophy. Swami said, it is not desire. 3 people are there, 2 rooms, what is a desire? No, you have not learned all this properly and all. 2 rooms is a need. You should have it. No, nicely, what is that? But he would not give that. The point is, he's just trying to dwell into your consciousness. Of course, he need not do anything. The entire consciousness, past, present and future is open book for him. But these are all leelas of God, in one of our interviews where our family was there, Swami asked so many questions and people, my own sister and others all answered something. Swami said, I know everything. If I don't talk, you'll mistake. That is why I ask all these things. So, before I'm asked to go out of this place, I would, I don't know this 1 hour, 1.5 hours, how it used to go. I feel the presence of Swami here with the devotees. Their love for Swami and mine is mingling into the whole thing. Ultimately, spiritual path is all about love for God. And without love the more that love is spread, more intense it is, the better it is for us and better it is for the world. So, Bhagavatas should meet more often, be they of any faith, to talk about their own experiences with divinity more often, more intensely, and that should go into every cell of our body, mind, heart, anything and everything that we have, it should seep into it. Only that love for God will set us right on the right path also. We can't just go and then say, this is not right, I should not do this is right. It's very difficult to do that. If your heart is suffused with God, then you listen to what God says. First, you're near to Him. Then you have to become dear to Him. Swami told me also, mere nearness is not enough, sir. You'll have to be dear. Then what is it to be dear? You'll have to listen to what He says and then practice 1 or 2 of what He says. I mean, you just can't do as you like and then say, God, you just... He says, help ever, hurt never. Keep on hurting and then want grace. I don't think. Love all, serve all means you select and I have only this family, 3 people and the others are all, let them go to hell, I'm not bothered. No, that doesn't work. We have to expand our heart. So a little bit. And we are very grateful to Swami, me and my colleagues in Super Speciality Hospital, that he has given a ready-made seva for us, that we have the sense to preserve this privilege that he has given. Just going there, we feel Swami's, if you are there in the campus, if you are there in the room, even if you don't do much, we feel like we are in Prasanthi Nilayam. Absolutely. I'm sure all my colleagues will agree. The same thing is true for the students who are studying here. They have not come here by chance. Nobody ever comes here by chance. Swami told the doctors in one of the private interviews in 2001 when he had come, only 20 doctors were there. I was fortunate to be there. He said, there are so many hospitals in this world. Why have you come here to this hospital to treat the patients? Have you ever inquired? Swami asked. Then he said, there are so many hospitals. Why are some patients coming only to this hospital and not to other hospital? Swami said, there is some connection between you, the doctors, and the patients. Some past connection is there. Realize it and treat them with love. The same thing holds for every student, the nursing students and the Vrindavan students who are here. You have not come here by chance. Without a past connection, you cannot step in. Swami said, nobody can enter Prasanthi Nilayam gate or Vrindavan gate without my will. If you think otherwise, you better change your opinion right now, because you will realize it very soon. Nobody ever comes without Swami calling. And that connection, we have to keep it, the heart-to-heart connection, wherever you are. Physically, all of us being here, working here is impossible throughout the life. But wherever you are, that connection has to be kept. You should realize that connection. You should be grateful to the institution which has given so much to us. And if you remember, and then just as I started the whole thing, you should speak to others about the good things that you have learned here and what this institution stands for. That is service enough. And practice to some extent what Swami says. All the things, we are not saints to practice everything. Start practicing important things. Then life will be Swami will handhold you till the end of this life and future lives also and take you all. Jai Sai Ram.